Um, he put on a good front in front of
Oh,
people. Like he treated me like a princess in front of people. Um, and like that's why in the video I posted, one of the things he used to say to me was like, at least I don't hit you in your face. You can cover your bruises up. And I would. Um, and like I was actually kind of shocked that people didn't see it sooner because I don't know. I guess I probably put on a good front too. I'm gonna just put it like that. Like his mom knew. His mom did know, and it got to a point where she was like, "If you're not gonna press charges on my son, don't tell me about it no more." So I was like, "Okay," and I stopped
damn.
telling her. Um, but yeah, like when my family did find out, it was actually because I tried to kill myself. Like I sent this long text message, and the text message wasn't supposed to go out until I was, drifting away. But
Right.
when he texted me, because I sent him pictures of what I was doing, like I kept cutting my arm. My arm was leaking blood, and every time I cut it again, I would send him a picture because he was like, you're not gonna kill yourself. Why you lying? You're not tired of lying yet. So I sent him the pictures, like I'm not playing. And it was a situation where like this was one of those nights where I knew that I was gonna get home and he was gonna put his hands on me, and I was just tired of it at that point. So I was like, shit, I'd rather be dead than have somebody keep putting their hands on me. So when he texted me, because of the background of the pictures I was sending, he knew exactly where I was at. So I took off running at that point. I was down by the river. I stay by the river. So I was like,
Mhm.
shoot, that's where I'm gonna take my life at. Um, so he texted me and he was like, I know where you at. So I took off running to get away from right there. And I accidentally sent the text message to my family. So at that point, everybody was blowing my phone up. And I remember, like, at that point, I was just laying on the ground, like, crying. And I remember hearing my brother's voice. I heard my brother and my dad's voice. And that's when, everybody found out what was going on. And it kind of fucked with my dad because my dad was like, damn, had I never done that to your mom, you would have never stayed with a man who was doing that to you. My mom was like, damn, had I never stayed with your dad, you would have never stayed with a man that did that to you. So
Right,
it
right.
was it was
So is
crazy.
it safe to say, or let me not safe to say, but at that point, was that like the climax of it, or was that the very beginning?
Um, I think mentally for me, it was the climax because I still chose to not press charges yet. And like obviously I was in the hospital for like a week after attempting to take my own life.
Right.
Um but I still let them come back. And like domestic violence can be complicated because like they will brainwash you into believing that you deserve it. Into believing that you did something
I do
wrong.
hear that often. I hear that often.
Yeah, like they will have us feeling like we deserve it. And it gets to a point you just get used to it. But I would say because this was in July of 2018
Okay.
that happened. No, 2019. July of 2019 is when that happened. Um, and we stayed together, and it was one of those situations where like I wanted to leave. Like I was begging him, like either leave me alone or love me right. He didn't want to do either one. Like if I tried to put him out, that was another ass whooping. And he was a strong, little, aggressive man. Like he, and then I had it in my head, like damn, like he went through a lot. He was mentally fucked up because of the life he kind of chose to live. So it was like I was having sympathy for him and his mental health, and he really wasn't giving a fuck about mine. But I let him come back, or he never went anywhere. I should say. I came home from the hospital to him. We was living together. We had a child together. Um, and ironically, the abuse started 8 months into the relationship, 3 days after I found out I was pregnant with our daughter.
Damn. What
And,
happened?
huh?
What happened when that, like, if you said when you, because you remember the exact time it
All right,
started.
this part of the story is so fucking crazy because I was mad. Like, I was at work the night before. I was doing hair. I had my own studio. I had my own studio. Um, and I was working late. I was working until like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. He was gonna stay up there with me the whole time, but he decided to leave because he was like, "Oh, Izzy, which isn't his daughter, that's my daughter." But he was, he stepped up because me and her dad wasn't talking. He was like, "Oh, she needs some milk," so I'm like, "Okay, cool." But he goes to take the milk, and then he was like, I'm gonna go do the laundry. So I'm like, all right, fine. But then you call me and you like, oh, my homeboy need me. I don't know what's going on, blah, blah, blah. So I come to find out, and like I was mad, I was snapping on him. And I'm like, you told me you was going to do this, but here you is outside with your homeboys running the streets, doing whatever. Like, come to find out, they was looking for this guy who had put his hands on the homeboy's cousin. And the sad
What?
thing is, that girl actually, she ended up getting killed by her dude. It was on the news. She got killed by not that same guy that was abusing her, but she got killed by another guy. I want to say earlier this year or maybe
That's
last summer. She
crazy.
ended up getting killed because she didn't get out of a domestic violence situation. But
Some
so,
hard beats.
I go home, and at this point, I'm like, look, I'm done with you. Like, please just get out, whatever, whatever. Like, I was tired of it. And the abuse hadn't started yet, but I was tired of his ways, period. So he didn't want to leave. So at this point, the sun is coming up. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm ready to walk to the store. I'm walking to the store. I get like a block away from, I was living with my mom. I got a block away from my mom's house. And all I heard was footsteps coming up behind me fast as hell. And I just remember getting grabbed by my throat, thrown on the ground. And like, next thing you know, I'm in the middle of the street and he is like beating the shit out of me like I'm a nigga. And
Damn.
just, yeah, like just talking a lot of shit. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I get
Is
up.
it broad daylight?
The sun was coming up, so it
Oh,
wasn't
it's just
too
coming
bright
up.
yet. But by the time it was over with, I remember it was bright outside because like he kept throwing me back on the ground, and I got up and I'm like, "Are you done yet?" And the look on his face was like he snapped back to reality, and like I walked away with this very silent cry, like I just had tears rolling down my face. And the ironic thing about it, and like this is a red flag to me now, but if a man out of nowhere tells me I would never put my hands on you, they make me feel like they would because that was something he told me. It wasn't never a concern like, oh, you might put your hands on me. But out the blue one day, he was like, yeah, I would never put my hands on you. And I'm like, okay, that's good to know.
Right.
The whole time he did. And then he told me a while prior, he was like, if I ever put my hands on you, take my gun and kill me. So we walked back to my mom's house. I ignored him the whole time. And I was like, where's your gun at? He was like, it's in the house. Why? I was like, go get it. Like you told me if you ever put your hands on me for me to kill you. Like, and he was like, you really want me to go get it? And I was like, no, I just want you to get out. And then, his mom found out the same day. She begged me not to get an abortion. And I was like, that's if, I
Oh,
don't
you
even
was
have a
pregnant
menstrual.
too?
Yeah, this was 3 days after I found out I was
Oh,
pregnant.
you did say that. What
Yeah,
the fuck?
this was the very first time he put his hands on me. So after
Damn.
that, it was like kind of a sporadic thing. Like it wasn't happening consistently. But after that situation, when I tried to kill myself, he felt bad. And I think I probably went like a good month or so before he was putting his hands on me again. Like he told me I scared him and this and that. Like, but the abuse continued and it was like it got worse and worse to the point that it was practically every day. And it wasn't even just physical abuse, it was verbal abuse. Like, just calling me out of my name any chance he gets, like a lot of projecting energy from him because a lot of the things he was saying, I believe he felt that about himself.
Right.
um but yeah, it got to a point in September of 2019. July was when I tried to commit suicide. By September of 2017, it was getting to the point where he was putting his hands on me in front of people. And like
Mm.
I said, you putting a gun to my head, you telling me you're gonna kill me, like you're choking me until my body goes limp, like, and like he would always stop just as I'm going limp. And like constantly telling me like I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill you, like, and then would turn around and apologize and be like, so you gonna call the police on me? And I'd be like, no. And then he would legit whoop my ass, ask me if I'm gonna call the police, tell me he loved me, kiss me, hug me, and leave out the house. Or ask me to ride with him. And I just was doing whatever at that point. Um, but in September, that's when I remember his brother was living with us. His brother and the brother's baby mama, they was staying with us. And when it got to a point where he was doing it in front of them, like he was in the living room yelling at me one day, and he was like right in my face, headbutt me in my mouth, like to the point my shit was split, and did it in front of his brother. So it started getting a little more scary at that point because it's like, oh, he don't even care to hide it no more. Like
Right,
he
right.
knew that certain people knew what was going on, but he really didn't even care to hide it anymore at that point. Like he would snap on me in front of his friends, like threaten me in front of his friends. It was crazy. But that time when he headbutted me in my mouth and stuff, those bruises that I posted, that was the only time I ever actually took pictures of my bruises, and that was one of the last times he had put his hands on me. But those bruises that was on my arms, I didn't really care to cover them up, and on top of that, I didn't realize that my mouth was bruised up right here. So I remember seeing my daughter's godmom. She came to pick her up, and she seen it. She was the one that pointed it out, and she was like, "He's still putting his hands on you," because at that point everybody knew, but I still wasn't telling people that it was still going on. I was
Right,
still
right.
hiding it. Um, so she was like, "He's still putting his hands on you." I'm like, "Yeah." And then that same day, my daughter, my oldest daughter, she's gonna be 11 on Saturday. She seen the bruises on my arms, and she was like, "Mommy, what happened to your arm?" And at the time, she had to have been like 7 years old. And I was like, "Oh, I fell down the steps." And that shit broke my heart because I'm like, damn, I just lied to my child to cover up, what this nigga really doing to me. So that was my breaking point. That was when I was like, nah, I gotta press charges on him.
Yeah,
Like
you
those
knew you
bruises.
knew it wasn't right at that time. You was like, this shit ain't right.
Yeah. Yeah. When I had to lie to my child about it, I was like, yeah, this I can't do it no more. Um so ironically, the brothers, she was his girlfriend at the time. The brother's girlfriend at the time, like she kind of helped me press charges. I
Hmm.
stayed at work a little late the next day, and I told her, I said, "Look, I'm gonna go to the hospital when I get off work." And my chest was hurting real bad.
Hold on. Before you go there, how was that? All right, so because it just hit me like, yo, because you was in love with this person, you had a child with this person, so that I'm pretty sure that wasn't like you said, nigga had you psyched out, brainwashed. Like, how was it like making that decision? How long did it take you? Did you have to like sit down for a whole day and think about if you was really going? Because that's put even though he deserved it, I'm just saying putting charges on somebody that's a serious thing. You
And
know what
he
I'm
knew I
saying?
didn't want to do that. He knew I
Right.
really didn't want to do that. And I told him, like, after I did press charges on him, I was like, nigga, that shit broke my heart to even have to do that because you already spent 8 years of your life in prison from the time we was 16 until we was like 24. He knew I didn't want to send him back to prison.
Right.
So
Right.
like
Right.
that it really was heartbreaking. But I wouldn't say that I had to contemplate. It was like once my mind was made up, that was it. But I still had to go to work. I still had to go make my
And you
money.
said the
So
homegirl helped you. She helped you do it.
yeah, so like I knew that when I got off work that night that I was gonna go to the hospital. And I did. And I even had another friend who went to the hospital with me. But um because my homegirl was at my house, like she was here with her boyfriend, which was his brother. So I'm texting her like, yeah, bitch, it's ready to go down. Like, so I go to the hospital, they
He's
take
gonna
pictures of
probably
my
be mad type shit. Like it's gonna be hell. It's gonna be hell. Like
yeah. And I just
yeah,
got to a point where I didn't care because I was like, this is starting to impact my kids. Like, even though my kids never seen him, they've heard it. They've heard him, they've heard us fighting.
right. It still affect
Um,
him. Yeah, it still affect him.
yeah. So I was like, it's ready to be a done deal. So while I was at the hospital, I was texting her like, let me know if he leaves. And if he does leave, see if you can find out how long he's going to be gone. See if you can find out where he's going. But he never left. So I will never forget the officer because every time she sees me, like, she's like, I remember you. You Tahar's girlfriend. I'm like, yeah, that was me. But she hated domestic violence so bad because they asked me when I went to the hospital, like, you seen the bruises. They was like, what did he hit you with? I'm like, he punched me. They was like, oh, he's gonna kill you. Like when they seen the severity of the bruises from his fist, they was like, this is the type of man that will kill you.
Yeah, that's hard. Like I mean, I don't think I think any level, but just me visually looking at that shit, it's like, and you got lighter skin, so you can really see the blood clot. You can see the shit, like the
Yeah, and I
bruise.
think
Like
I think when I took those pictures, it had probably been like a good week maybe since it happened.
that's fucked
Because
up.
that day I took those pictures, I was actually at work in the middle of doing somebody's hair when I took those pictures, and I took them just to have my own proof because I didn't know that they were gonna take more pictures at the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And then that one that I had on my chest, like my chest was like extremely sore. Like I thought he broke something in my chest other than my heart. I thought he
Right,
broke
right,
something
right.
in my chest, so they had to do chest x-rays and everything. But the cop, she was like, "Where is he at right now?" I was like, "He's at my house." And she was like, "Oh, he really about to make it that easy for me?" She was like, "I can go there right now and lock him up." I'm like, "Yeah, go ahead." Like, I was like,
Right.
"I got somebody texting me in case he leave," but she got to my house so quick, and he already knew what time it was because he looked through the peephole. He looked at the brother and the girlfriend and was like, "Jasmine pressed charges on me." But it's like, nigga, you should have known that was coming. Like, how much do you think I could take? And it got to a point where I'm like, yeah, this nigga is gonna kill me if I don't leave. And then his mom kept saying it. His mom was like, my son is gonna kill you. Like, you need to leave.
That's
And I kept
crazy.
telling her,
When that mom saying that, not to cut you off, mom saying that is that's telling. The
yeah,
mom telling you like that's crazy.
yeah. But she knew it. I can't even say she knew. It was like nobody really understood at that
She
point
know
that it
her
was
son though.
impossible. It was
She probably
impossible.
know he flash out. He probably didn't flash out around her before. You know what I
He
mean?
have to her.
Yeah. She know her
Like,
son.
when you threatening to take your own mama life, you crazy.
Yes. You ain't rap too tight.
Yeah.
So wait. So
So
they took him to the thing, or he ran out the back door, or what happened?
no, he let them lock him up. And the cop
Okay.
told me, she was like, he resisted a little bit. But yeah, he went ahead and went in. But I think the thing that really threw me the most was that the mom was urging me to press charges on him. But guess who went and signed him out that same night?
His mama.
The mom and the brother. And I'm like, y'all
Hmm.
just don't give a fuck about my life, huh? And like to this
They
day,
gonna
she
choose
will
him over
say,
you though. You know that.
yeah, to this day, she'll say, like, I didn't bond him out. He paid for it himself. I just signed for him. I'm like, yeah, but without your signature, he would have never got out.
Right.
And guess what he did? Came right back to my house 6 hours later.
And
He was
what he
right back.
say?
He was talking shit, threatening me. And this is the crazy part about it. Like, it went from him talking shit to begging me, like, babe, please don't send me back to prison. I can't go back to prison. Please don't send me back. And I'm like, well, nigga, I begged you to stop whooping my ass and you wouldn't do it. So, um, and then that's where I turned into, a dummy. I didn't drop the charges because, and this is one thing about the state of Virginia, they do not play about domestic violence anymore. Once you press charges and they have proof, they don't even give a fuck if you come to court or not. Cause they
They
like,
gonna do it. They gonna press the.
yeah,
They
we
gonna,
picking these charges up. You can
yeah.
drop them. You could try to drop them all day, but they like because they're tired of women getting killed for going back.
Right.
So they pick it up now. So I told him I stayed away from him. I had a 72-hour protective order. He didn't give a fuck about the protective order, of course. Um, but after the protective order was up, I let him come back. Like a dummy, I let him come back. So everything was good for like a week, maybe 2 weeks. It felt like we was back in the beginning. Like he was giving me that princess treatment again, and we had a real conversation about it. And he was like, and I told him, I said I would drop the charges if I could, but I can't. And I was like, at the end of the day, I kind of don't want to anyway because I didn't deserve what you did to me.
Right.
So he was like, do you want me to go to jail? I was like, yeah. And he was like,
Mm.
well, he was like, I'll go. He was like, I'll go do my time because you didn't deserve that. At this point, I guess he was kind of clear minded, only for a brief second though, because it only took a week or two for it to happen again. And the last time he put his hands on me, I just knew my life was really in danger that day because it's like he already contemplating going on the run. So he really don't care if he kill me at this point. I didn't
Going on a
already
run
pressed the
about that
charges.
case.
Yeah.
So he was on papers at this time.
He was still on papers. Yeah.
Damn, yeah, you was in a dangerous type. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
You
Like
living with this
he
person.
still had 40 years over his head.
Jesus
So,
Christ. Yeah,
so
he.
yeah. The last time it happened, um, I remember I had to call the police without letting him know I was calling the police. Like, you know how you can hold the button down on the iPhone? Like
Mm-hmm.
I was willing to take a punch to the face in order to call the police because I had a hoodie on, so I had my hands in my pocket,
Right.
and my phone, was in my pocket, so I'm holding on to them buttons for dear life, not even knowing if it's actually working or not, because I just kept feeling my phone vibrate, and I think he knew what I was doing because he tried to keep pulling my hands out of my hoodie. But he's so slow because the police got there. They actually listened to him threaten to kill me for 8 minutes. Like I went back and looked at the phone call after the fact. They did pick
Yeah.
up and they could hear everything going on. So they tracked my location. Because like within 10 minutes, police was knocking on my door. And he looked and we was right in front of the door. So not only are they hearing what's going on the phone, they're hearing him threatened me on the other side of the door. So he looks out the door and he was like, "Oh, somebody called the police." And I just felt relief. But this was the fucked up part about it. The police was assholes about it because they was like, "Why you let him come back?" Because I told the police when they got there, I'm like, "Look, he got like 4 warrants right now, which all of them was because of me." I
What the
told him, I was
fuck?
like, "Yeah," I was like, "He just held me hostage inside my house. He's threatening to kill me. He just choked the shit out of me." But for some reason, the police let him leave. Like, I ain't gonna hold you. I peeped that it was a scale sitting on the floor behind me.
Would he have some
So when
work,
I
some dope
seen
on
it,
him?
I was like, "Oh, the police ain't about to think this is my shit. This is my apartment." So I turn around. I turn around to sirens loud.
I'm like, is that mine? Because I'm hearing siren. I got the window open so I can let the smoke out. It's all
Nah,
good.
those my sirens this time.
Them your Yeah.
So
Good
I
old
turn around
Richmond.
and I'm like, huh?
I said, good old Richmond, homely
Ain't
Richmond.
it? And I got an interesting story about the sirens the day that, you know, everything else went left. I ain't gonna give this part away yet. I think
All
I
right.
talked to you about it already, what happened after the fact, like 10 days after I put them out, but I ain't gonna give that part away yet.
Okay, okay.
So
So yeah, go ahead.
so I turn around and I go to pick the scale up off the floor. I tell the police, like, hold on 1 second. I go pick the scale up off the floor and go throw it in the trash. Cause I'm not about to have no charge for it being a scale on my floor.
Mm-hmm.
I went back to the front door. Baby daddy was gone and the police was gone. But I
What?
think the police left because they realized he left and they was like, "Oh shit. Like we done let this nigga get away and she just told us he got warrants."
Right.
Needless to say, I filed a complaint against them. Baby daddy ended up getting more warrants and charges. Like they gave him kidnapping and abduction at that point for holding me against my will.
Yeah, because yeah, that's abduction, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they gave him like strangulation, violation. He had already gotten violation of a protective order.
You know, abduction is like a minimum of 9 years.
Jesus.
Yeah, minimum type shit though. Minimum type shit. So yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So he kept saying that he was gonna go to court. He like even after all of that. And this is the crazy part about it. After I pressed charges on him, because I didn't have a car at the time. We had a car. The car was in his name. He went and put the car in my name because he was like, since I'm about to go to jail, let's go ahead and put the car in your name now so we don't have no issues. Like, do you see how much craziness was going on? It's like, nigga, you love me, but you crazy as hell. You love me and you hate me at the same time. Make it
Hold on,
make
what you
sense.
mean? So you mean like you think that he was trying to tie himself to you or something or
Nah, he just knew I had the kids, and like he was so crazy that like yeah, he was beating the shit out of me, but he was like, yeah, I just want to put the car in your name because you gonna need the car when I go to jail.
okay,
Like how
yeah,
how
I
you
guess.
still whooping my ass and you care at the same time? Like that's confusing. That's the type of shit that will have us brainwashed.
Right,
It's
right,
very
right.
confusing. So I started ignoring him after that. Like it was like we communicated like every day to some extent, but it was a lot of him begging and telling me he loved me. And I'm like, nigga, it's out of my hands at this point. It's nothing more I can do. Um he kept coming to my house and mind you, he would not give me my house key back. So I had to stay
Damn.
at home. I had to stay at home because I'm like, if I leave, I'm liable to come home at any point and this nigga is sitting in my shit waiting on me.
Right.
So I said, fuck it. And I stayed at home. I still have my clients pulling up. I'm like, look, y'all got to come to the house to get y'all hair done because I'm not leaving my house, but I could lock my screens, if I'm in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So, I refused either that or if I did go out somewhere, somebody had to stay in my house. And the one matter of fact, the one time, like 8 days later, the one time I went outside, this
Mm-hmm.
nigga came in the house and I knew he did because he came in here and tore shit up.
Oh, he flipped the apartment?
It wasn't too bad, but I could tell he had been in here.
Well, he was on some like angry shit or he was looking for some shit.
I think he was looking for something because we had this coffee a empty coffee container that we used to stash money in. And I peeked that
Okay.
he had threw that across the room. He didn't have to break my lamp too, but he broke my lamp. I'm like, this asshole. But like he pretty much left signs that he had been here. And it was to the point that I would not come in my house. Cause I think he left the door unlocked. Or it was something about the door that let me know before I even came in that he had been inside.
And you had to sleep there and shit too. That was like your home. Like you, that's like a prison. You a prisoner in your own home. Yo, like
Yeah. And
I
even with
couldn't even
even
sleep in some shit. Like if I like I can't even be around nobody. That's like if I can't sleep around you, I can't even be around you like that. Like if I don't feel, you feel me? Like I won't even
yeah.
be there. Like you see what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
I don't know how to sleep with one eye open. I know people know how to do it, but I don't know how to do it.
See,
So
I could lock my screens. That was the only safety I felt was knowing I could lock my screens and knowing
right,
that he. Granted, I was like, this nigga liable to shoot through a window, but I knew he wasn't that stupid because he wasn't gonna put the kids in
right,
that type of harm.
right,
He won't go do that. But I just was like, yeah, no. And then, like I said, his brother was here. His brother stayed here, even at with everything going on. He stayed here,
right.
and then he was mad about that. Like he mad that I still let his brother and his girlfriend stay with me. But it's like, nigga, they didn't do nothing to me. And
Right,
I
right.
remember the girlfriend. It was her first day at a new job, and she was so terrified to leave me by myself that she didn't even go to work on time. Like because that morning, I want to say this was the same day he had butt me in my mouth, and that because she was right there when it happened too. And that morning, like I went to open the back door to let the kids go to the bus stop. Guess who's standing on my back porch? This nigga, because he knew what time the kids go to school, so he knew that was one time I was gonna unlock the
So
screen.
where was he staying? Was he staying at the homies? You don't know where he was at. He was outside or what he was doing?
He he was staying with one of his friends.
Okay. That was in the same area?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's
And
how he
then
was
he hung
always
out in
right
this
there.
area too. Like this was his neck of the woods. So,
Right. Type shit. Okay.
I used to see him driving past sometimes and I'm like, all right, he ain't coming to bother me. But I remember it was one day that he came by here 4 times. Like sometimes I would just see him sitting outside and he'll be blowing my phone up. At this point, he was trying to get his stuff back. And I'm like, no, nigga, you should have took whatever you needed
Right,
when you
right.
because matter of fact, I ended up that's how he ended up putting his hands on me the last time. Because I let him in to come get his stuff. And he came down the steps and I already knew what time it was. I tried to run out the back door, but he got there so quick that he locked me in the house. Like he grabbed the door, pulled it. No, he pushed the door closed and locked it. I tried to run to the front door. He got there before me. He locked that door. And I'm like, oh yeah. I was like, he about to kill me. Like this is
Yeah,
it.
like that's what it shit sound crazy, yo.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm about to lose my life right now.
I can imagine, especially as a female like me. I'm a man, so I'm trying to. But y'all a little smaller. You don't need. That's it. Just that's. I feel sorry for you on that shit. That's just crazy. That's
Yeah.
like a movie. It's like what the fuck, like Michael Myers or something coming. Like you feel me? Like
Right. That's how I felt too. Like I just never knew what day was gonna be my last day. Like, cause I can't even tell you how many times he put a gun to my head, and you got one in the head, you got a loaded clip. Like,
all it takes is one fuck up.
yeah,
Literally, it could be an accident. Like
yeah, literally.
damn. So what he locked the door and what happened? Then he just got on you right then.
That was the day that the police let him leave. That was the day I had to call the police by holding the buttons on the sides of my phone.
Right.
Um, so after that, he kind of he kind of stayed away, but I remember him coming back one time. He came back 4 times in one day. And I called the police every time. I'm like, yeah, he's here. They take 30 minutes to get here. I'm like, all right, he's here again. They
Right.
take 30 minutes. I was like, I was cussing the police out. I was like, yo, every fucking time I call y'all take 30 minutes and he gone by the time y'all get here. They gonna
Right.
tell me, oh, when you call next time, tell him that he got a gun and he threatening your life. Y'all know that already. Why the fuck I gotta tell y'all that?
Right.
Like, make it make sense. And
It's
then
documented.
this what else the police said to me that day when I told them, like, you know, he already got warrants for this and that. I pressed charges on him already. He violated the protective order. They was like, well, why you let him come back? I said, why the fuck do any of us let him come back? Like, I'm like,
Right.
y'all worried about the wrong shit right
It's
now.
a you know what it is? It's a simple question to somebody who's not going through it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's anything. That's not just domestic violence. If somebody, it's easy because you ain't going through this shit. You know what I mean? Whatever it could be. You know what I mean? So
Right.
and they just police anyway. They don't give a fuck. No, yeah, you black. They don't give a fuck. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? They don't care no
Especially
way.
when you in the hood too. Like, they get close.
Yeah, they don't care at all. So how
So,
was so what? Yeah, what happened there?
all right. So, that was the last day I actually saw him. And ironically, the last text message I sent him was probably like October 19th of 2019. And I said, you know, I still love you. I forgive you for everything you did to me, but I'm done with you. I was like, you know, I'm not gonna try to keep your child away from you, but you really need to go get help because something is really wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, he told me he loved me too, he forgive me too. I don't know what the fuck he was forgiving me
I'm
for,
about to
but
say what the fuck, nigga.
yeah, I don't know
But
what I was
yeah,
being. I don't know
look,
what I
I
was
said
being
forgive
forgiven
me, nigga.
for.
What? You're the
Right.
problem, nigga. Fuck you, man.
Yeah. So, you know, very narcissistic. So that
Yeah.
was the last time we had talked. And then 3 days later on October 21st, I'm sitting in my bedroom with the brother's girlfriend and we looking out the window, waiting on this nigga to pull up.
Right.
So there was an ambulance sitting across the street. I hear the ambulance sirens go off. The ambulance pulls off. About 10 seconds later, my phone is ringing. I answer the phone, and this girl was like, your baby daddy just got shot. So I'm like, damn, what you calling me for? Like, she was like, what you mean? That's your baby daddy, blah, blah, blah. I said, girl,
Mm.
that nigga ain't get shot.
Right.
So she like, nah, he did. I'm like, well, where was he at? Who was he? Well, I already knew who he was with because she was the one calling me. So I knew who he was with. So me and the brother girlfriend, we just look at each other and we like, that nigga playing games right now. Like, he really trying to see me. He really trying to get to me. So the girl calls me back again and she like, nah, he really did get shot. I'm like, well, you know, it's like what's going on? I need more details. So she had called me back a couple more times and I was like, I bet you if he got killed on 22nd Street. And I was right. And it was like 4 or 5 blocks away. So that's why I seen the ambulance that left to go get him. I didn't realize that right at that moment, but I was like, damn, that's why that ambulance left
Yeah.
right before I
Yeah. I
got
see
that
what you're
phone
saying.
call.
Yeah. You put it together a little late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was to the point, at this point, it's like, all right, we're gonna call this nigga. Like, I went downstairs probably like 5 minutes later. His brother was laying on the couch. And I was like, yeah, niggas calling my phone, telling me your brother got shot. He sucked his teeth, got up off the couch, and was like, let me go see what's going on. We didn't want to say nothing to the mama initially because
Right.
we didn't want her to have a damn heart attack. So we waited about 45 minutes before we said something to the mom. Um, you know, I'm calling all his friends. I'm calling their girlfriend. When I was calling the girlfriends, the wives and the girlfriends of his friends, I'm like, when the last time you seen Tahad? People saying he got shot. And when I tell you every single person said the same thing, we seen him yesterday. He was supposed to be coming by today. Everybody started calling his phone and he wasn't the type of person to not answer his phone. So even with him not answering the phone, we still not believing it. Everybody was like, Jazz, I think he just playing a prank on you. I think he just want to see you because he's so obsessed with you. You know he in love with you. Like, and he was obsessed and in love, but so hateful at the same time. But whole time he was really laying there bleeding out. So he ended up dying that same day. And that was the end of it. And I remember my dad was like the third person I called. Cause I went to the hospital, me, his mom, his brother, a couple of his friends was there. Um, and I remember I called my dad and I was like, Tahar just died. And my dad was like, I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm just glad you finally got some peace in your life.